The Grandview Hotel ballroom glittered like a jewelry box under crystal chandeliers. Champagne flutes clinked in waves of celebration. Ivory silk and designer tuxedos filled every corner of the marble-floored space. At the center table, Vanessa Cross laughed too loudly at her own joke. Her wedding dress caught the light with each dramatic gesture. Guests leaned in, eager to please the bride who had just married tech CEO Marcus Cross in the social event of the season. Maya Bennett approached with a silver tray, balanced perfectly. 6 champagne flutes caught chandelier light. She wore the standard server uniform, black vest, white shirt, black slacks. Her movements were practiced, invisible. Vanessa's hand swept out without looking. The tray tilted. Glass shattered against marble. Champagne splashed across Maya's uniform, golden liquid darkening the black fabric. The conversation stopped. Music continued for 3 more beats before the band leader noticed. 200 faces turned toward the sound. "Did I ask you to breathe near me?" Vanessa's voice carried across the sudden silence. Maya stood frozen, champagne dripping from her sleeves. Her face remained neutral. Not blank, neutral. There was a difference. Phones emerged from pockets and clutches. Camera flashes sparked like fireflies. Whispers rustled through the crowd. Vanessa examined her manicured nails, dismissing the moment. Marcus shifted uncomfortably beside her, but said nothing. Guests exchanged glances, some disapproving, most simply curious about the drama. Maya's eyes held something the bride didn't recognize. Not anger, not shame. Patience, the kind that comes from knowing how stories end. 2 hours earlier, Maya Bennett had walked through the Grandview service entrance. She signed the staff roster with her usual alias. The kitchen manager, Roberto, waved her through without checking. She had worked every service position imaginable over the past 15 years. Dishwasher at 19 while studying for economics finals. Banquet server at 23, memorizing wine pairings and silent service rules. Hotel inspector at 31, learning how empires were built on invisible labor. Tonight she was here by choice. Bennett Capital had acquired the Grandview Hotel in a quiet transaction that closed 48 hours ago. The former owners, the Cross family, didn't know yet. Neither did their daughter, currently celebrating her wedding in the main ballroom. Maya had requested this shift from the confused but accommodating hotel manager. She wanted to see the property through the eyes of its workers. She wanted to understand what needed changing. The Grandview staff knew her as Maya from catering. She tipped well, asked about their children, remembered their names. She had scrubbed floors beside them and fielded complaints from entitled guests who never bothered to look at faces. Vanessa Cross came from old Connecticut money and newer prejudices. She had grown up in hotel suites and country clubs where service workers existed as background noise. Her wedding to Marcus Cross merged 2 fortunes, his from tech innovation, hers from real estate legacy. Marcus himself seemed pleasant enough in business profiles. Stanford-educated self-made success story. But Maya had learned that pleasant men rarely interrupted their brides. The hotel manager, Richard Chen, had worked at the Grandview for 18 years. He recognized Maya immediately when she arrived tonight. "Miss Bennett, you shouldn't be—" "I need to see it from inside, Richard." Her voice was quiet but final. He nodded slowly. He had already learned not to argue with his new boss. Maya adjusted her vest and picked up the champagne tray. Through the service doors she could hear laughter and music. The bride's voice carried above everything else, bright, sharp, used to being heard. She pushed through the doors into the light. The champagne pooled around broken glass. Maya's uniform clung to her skin, cold and sticky. She remained standing, waiting for the moment to pass. Vanessa turned fully toward her. The bride's expression shifted from annoyance to something harder. "Well, are you going to clean that up?" "Of course." Maya's voice stayed level. "I apologize for the accident." "Accident?" Vanessa's laugh cut through the tension. "You walked directly into my hand." "Were you not paying attention?" Several guests shifted in their seats. A woman in lavender whispered to her partner. Marcus reached for Vanessa's arm, but she pulled away. "On your knees," Vanessa said. The room inhaled sharply. Maya glanced toward the service station where other servers watched frozen. Richard Chen had started forward from his position near the wall. She caught his eye and shook her head slightly. She knelt. Glass shards pressed against the marble near her knees. She could navigate around them. She had cleaned worse. Vanessa stood, her dress rustling. She stepped closer. Her ivory heel, encrusted with small crystals, moved forward. The heel pressed down on Maya's hand. Not enough to break skin. Enough to make the point. "This is what you people are for." Vanessa's voice dropped to a theatrical whisper that carried perfectly. "Serving those who matter." The ballroom erupted. Some guests gasped. Others pulled out phones, filming openly now. A few laughed nervously, unsure whether this was performance or cruelty. Marcus stood. "Vanessa, that's—" "What?" She turned to him, smiling. "She's clumsy. I'm simply making sure she understands the importance of paying attention." Maya remained kneeling. Her hand throbbed under the pressure of the heel. She counted her breaths, 1, 2, 3. At breath 4, Vanessa removed her foot. Maya stood slowly. Champagne dripped from her uniform onto the marble. She picked up the larger glass shards carefully, placing them on the fallen tray. "Don't you have other guests to disappoint?" Vanessa had already turned back to her table. Maya straightened. Her eyes found Vanessa's reflection in the mirrored wall behind the head table. "Just one," she said quietly. She walked toward the service exit. Her footsteps left damp marks on the marble. Behind her, conversation resumed in scattered bursts. Vanessa's laugh rose above it all, triumphant and sharp. The service door closed behind Maya with a soft click. The service corridor smelled of industrial cleaner and coffee. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Maya leaned against the concrete wall, cool against her back through the damp uniform. Her hands shook. Not from humiliation. She had experienced worse and survived. They shook from the effort of restraint. From not saying what wanted to be said. From not revealing what she knew. She closed her eyes and heard her grandmother's voice. "Baby, don't fight with mud. You'll both get dirty, but the mud likes it." Grandma Evelyn had cleaned houses for 40 years. She had scrubbed toilets in homes she could never afford, while being called girl by women half her age. She had taught Maya the mathematics of dignity, how to calculate the cost of speaking up versus the compound interest of patience. 20 years of microaggressions had trained Maya for this moment. The store clerks who followed her, the professors who questioned her admissions, the investors who asked to speak to her supervisor when she was the CEO, each incident was a small cut. Together they formed a map of scars she had learned to navigate. But this was different. Vanessa hadn't just been rude. She had been deliberately cruel. She had made a spectacle of power for an audience that would share it online within minutes. Maya's wedding ring caught the fluorescent light, a simple gold band she wore on her left hand. Not an engagement ring. A promise ring to herself, purchased the day Bennett Capital closed its first deal, a reminder of who she was when nobody was watching. She touched it now, turning it slowly. Tonight she would remind Vanessa's world who she had become. The shaking in her hands stopped. 15 years ago, Maya had stood in a different service corridor. She was 19, working the midnight shift at a downtown hotel while studying for her economics midterm. Her grandmother had just died. Heart attack while cleaning a bathroom in a mansion that had 6 of them. The family who owned the mansion sent flowers, but spelled Evelyn's name wrong on the card. Maya had $10,000 from her grandmother's life insurance. She had student loans and rent due. She had 2 choices: survive comfortably for a year or bet everything on an impossible dream. She chose the dream. She invested the entire amount in a struggling bed and breakfast on the edge of bankruptcy. The owner, desperate and dying, sold it for pennies. Maya worked triple shifts, renovated personally, and implemented grandmother's rule. Treat workers like family. She sold it 18 months later for $200,000. Bennett Capital was born. She specialized in buying struggling properties, improving working conditions, and creating profit through loyalty rather than exploitation. Her mother, still working retail at 60, had cried when Maya bought her a house. "Baby, you did it," she had whispered. "You did what they said we couldn't." But Maya knew the truth. She hadn't done it despite being black and female and born without privilege. She had done it because of what those experiences taught her: efficiency, resilience, the mathematics of margins that privileged people never needed to learn. The Grandview Hotel acquisition closed 2 days ago. The Cross family's legacy property, their crown jewel, now belonged to Bennett Capital. Vanessa's parents didn't know yet. Their lawyers had negotiated with Maya's lawyers, never meeting her personally. Maya's assistant James had texted earlier, "Board meeting moved to tomorrow. Your call on timing." She knew exactly when to reveal the truth, not when she was angry. When she was ready, her phone buzzed. James again. Footage trending already. "Zag Grandview wedding. Should I flag for legal?" Maya typed back, "Document everything. I'll handle timing." She had learned patience from cleaning floors. She had learned strategy from building empires. Tonight, she would teach Vanessa the difference between power and cruelty. Maya opened her locker in the staff changing room. She removed the damp server's uniform, hanging it carefully. Underneath, she wore a royal blue dress that had cost $8,000. Simple lines, perfect tailoring. The kind of dress that whispered wealth rather than shouting it. She unpinned the name tag that said, "Maya, Server." From her locker, she retrieved a different one. Bennett CEO. Bennett Capital. She pinned it carefully to the dress. Her phone showed the hotel's security feeds, an app Richard had given her access to when the acquisition closed. She scrolled to camera 12, ballroom angle 3. Vanessa held court at the head table. She was demonstrating her version of events to delighted guests. Her hands mimicked the champagne spill. Her face exaggerated shock. The guests laughed on cue. The help that couldn't help herself. Vanessa's voice came through the phone's speaker. Someone had already posted the full video. Maya screenshot the footage. She forwarded it to James with a single word: document. Her lawyer, Patricia Wong, texted confirmation. Witness discrimination. Filmed by multiple parties. Physical contact confirmed. Ground solid if needed. Your call on approach. Maya looked at her reflection in the locker mirror. The woman looking back had come from nothing and built everything. She had survived worse than a spoiled bride's cruelty, but survival wasn't enough anymore. Not when other servers still knelt to clean up intentional messes. Not when other black women still absorbed humiliation as the price of employment. She reached for her right hand, twisting the ring she had kept hidden until now. Her grandmother's engagement ring, the only jewelry Grandma Evelyn had ever owned. 3.5 carats of diamond earned through 40 years of labor. Maya had inherited it, along with the life insurance. She never wore it to work, afraid of damaging it. Tonight she had made an exception, keeping it turned inward against her palm while she served. She twisted it back to proper position. The diamond caught fluorescent light and shattered it into rainbows against the locker door. Time to return to the party. Not as the waitress who served. As the owner who decided. Maya re-entered through the main ballroom doors. Not the service entrance. The grand entrance reserved for guests. Heads turned. Whispers rippled through tables like wind through grass. The royal blue dress caught chandelier light. Her grandmother's diamond flashed with each step. She walked directly to Richard Chen, who stood near the hotel manager's station. She spoke quietly. His face went pale. He nodded once, twice, then moved toward the technical booth. Vanessa noticed the commotion. She leaned toward Marcus, her hand on his arm. "Isn't that—" She stopped. Recognition flickered but didn't land. Maya approached their table. Several guests fell silent. Others continued talking, unaware of the shift in atmosphere. Mrs. Cross, Maya's voice carried perfectly. "Congratulations on your wedding." Vanessa's smile sharpened. She studied the dress, the diamond ring, the confidence. "Do I know you?" "We met earlier." Maya kept her tone pleasant. "I was serving champagne. You had some notes on my performance." Recognition flashed across Vanessa's face. Her mouth opened slightly. Then she laughed, loud, performative. "This is ridiculous." She looked to her guests. "The help is crashing my wedding." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Vanessa, maybe what?" She stood, her dress rustling. "This woman spilled champagne on herself, and now she's parading around in some borrowed dress?" She turned to Maya. "Where did you get that?" "The lost and found." Several guests laughed nervously. Others pulled out phones again. The moment was too good not to record. "Someone remove her," Vanessa said loudly. "Security." "Where's security?" 2 security guards appeared, but they didn't move toward Maya. They stood awkwardly, looking at Richard, who shook his head. Marcus stood now too. "What's going on?" Maya simply smiled. "I apologize for the interruption. I wanted to offer my personal congratulations." She met Vanessa's eyes. "Enjoy your evening, Mrs. Cross. What's left of it?" She turned and walked toward the front of the ballroom. Vanessa watched her go, triumphant again. "Some people don't know their place," she announced to her table. The guests murmured agreement. The moment seemed to pass. Vanessa sat back down, reaching for her champagne. Maya reached the small stage where the band had been playing. The band leader, a man named Thomas who had worked at the Grandview for 12 years, handed her the microphone. He nodded once, acknowledging his new boss. "Ladies and gentlemen," Maya's voice filled the ballroom. "Thank you for celebrating at the Grandview tonight." Vanessa stood again. "What is this?" Marcus grabbed her arm. "Vanessa, wait." "As of 2 days ago," Maya continued, "Bennett Capital acquired this property. I'm Maya Bennett, CEO and majority shareholder." The ballroom went silent. Vanessa's face shifted from anger to confusion to dawning horror. Richard Chen moved to the technical booth. The large screens behind the stage, installed for the wedding slideshow, flickered to life. Security camera footage filled the screens. "Clear, high definition, time-stamped." Vanessa's hand sweeping the tray. Champagne shattering. Maya kneeling. Vanessa's heel pressing down. The audio played through the ballroom speakers. Vanessa's voice crystal clear. "This is what you people are for. Serving those who matter." Gasps echoed through the crowd. Marcus went white. Vanessa's father, sitting 3 tables back, stood slowly, his face red. "Turn it off," Vanessa screamed. "Turn it off right now." But the footage continued. Vanessa laughing to her guests afterward. The help that couldn't help herself. More laughter. More cruel commentary. All of it captured perfectly. Maya's eyes found Vanessa's across the ballroom. "I have an announcement about our hospitality standards. Effective immediately, the Grandview Hotel has 0 tolerance for discrimination. Against anyone. For any reason." The screens went dark. The ballroom remained silent. 200 people sat frozen, phones forgotten, champagne untouched. Vanessa's champagne flute slipped from her hand. It shattered against the marble floor, the sound impossibly loud in the silence. Vanessa stood alone at her head table. Marcus had moved away, speaking urgently with his father. Guests whispered behind hands, no longer looking at her directly. Her bridesmaids had scattered to different tables. Her maid of honor typed frantically on her phone. The photographer had stopped taking pictures. Everything collapsed in slow motion. Reputation, dignity. The careful image she had spent 28 years building. Her phone buzzed. Text messages flooded in. Instagram notifications. Twitter mentions. The hashtag Grandview Wedding was trending. She clicked it against her better judgment. The videos were everywhere. Different angles. Different commentary. Same conclusion, the bride was a monster. Vanessa. Her father's voice cut through the noise. "We need to leave now." She looked at him. Victor Cross had built an empire on real estate. He had taught her that power meant never apologizing. "This is my wedding," she whispered. "This was your wedding," he corrected. "Now it's a disaster. Get your things." Marcus appeared beside her father. "Vanessa, I think—" He stopped. He couldn't finish the sentence. She waited. Waited for him to defend her. To say the woman had overreacted. To remind everyone that help was help and accidents happened. He said nothing. Vanessa looked around the ballroom. The room that had celebrated her an hour ago now avoided her gaze. She saw herself reflected in the mirrored walls, a woman in an ivory dress that suddenly felt like a costume. Maya Bennett stood near the entrance, speaking quietly with hotel staff. She glanced toward Vanessa once. Not with anger. With something worse, pity. Vanessa's hands clenched. Her mother's engagement ring, 2 carats, family heirloom, felt suddenly small on her finger. She had compared it to other brides' rings all night, secure in its meaning. Now it felt like nothing at all. Maya watched Vanessa leave through a side exit, her father guiding her firmly by the elbow. Marcus followed several steps behind, his phone pressed to his ear. The remaining guests sat in uncomfortable silence. Some gathered their things. Others stayed, uncertain whether the reception would continue. Richard Chen approached Maya. "Ms. Bennett, should we—" "Continue the reception," Maya said quietly. "The guests traveled for this. The staff prepared for this. Let them eat, dance, celebrate. Just not the bride's cruelty." She walked to the bar where the lead bartender, Sophia, was wiping down the counter with shaking hands. "Sophia." Maya's voice was gentle. "You okay?" Sophia looked up, eyes wet. "That could have been any of us. I've had glasses knocked from my hands. I've been called worse than what she called you." "I know." Maya touched her arm. "That's why I documented it. Not just for me, for all of us." James appeared at Maya's side, his tablet glowing. "Legal called. The Cross family attorneys want to talk. Also, 3 news outlets requesting comment. And your board wants an emergency call." Maya nodded. "Tell legal we'll discuss terms tomorrow. Tell the news outlets to check our statement at 9 a.m. Tell the board the situation is handled." She looked around the ballroom. The servers had resumed working, but differently now. Heads held higher, movements less invisible. An older server named Patricia approached. She had worked at the Grand View for 23 years. "Ms. Bennett, I just want to say—" Her voice broke. "Thank you." Other staff members gathered. Roberto from the kitchen, Thomas the band leader, Maria from housekeeping. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Marcus Cross. I need to speak with you. Please, it's important." She showed James. He raised an eyebrow. "You going to respond?" "Eventually." Maya pocketed the phone. Let him think about what he should have said tonight. She remembered something her grandmother once told her. "Baby, the loudest power is the quietest move. Don't shout your wins. Let them echo." The echo was already starting. Her phone showed notifications climbing into thousands. The story was spreading beyond social media. News outlets, business journals, human rights organizations. But Maya wasn't focused on the trend. She was watching Sophia smile for the first time that night. Watching Patricia stand straighter. Watching the staff realize they were seen. That was the real victory. The next morning, Maya sat in the Grand View's executive conference room. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The same ballroom where she had been humiliated was visible below, being cleaned for the next event. Victor Cross sat across from her, flanked by 2 attorneys. His expression was granite. "Ms. Bennett, let's discuss this situation reasonably." "I'm listening." Maya's voice stayed neutral. "My daughter made a mistake. She's young. The wedding was stressful. Surely we can handle this privately." He leaned forward. "Name your price." Maya said nothing. 1 million, Victor said. "To avoid further embarrassment for both parties." "Both parties?" Maya's eyebrow raised. "The video makes the Grand View look bad too," one of the attorneys interjected. "Guests being assaulted. Bad publicity." The Grandview looks like a place that protects its workers, Maya corrected. That's excellent publicity. Victor's jaw tightened. 2 million. Final offer, you delete the footage. We issue a joint statement. This goes away. The door opened. Marcus Cross entered, looking like he hadn't slept. Wait, he said. Just wait. Victor turned. Marcus, we discussed... No, Dad, you discussed. Marcus sat down heavily. Miss Bennett, I need to say something. Maya waited. I should have stopped her. His voice was raw. When she knocked the tray. When she made you kneel. When she... He stopped. I've been thinking all night about why I didn't, and I don't have a good answer. Weak character, Victor muttered. No, Marcus said quietly. Weak courage. There's a difference. He looked at Maya. I've seen Vanessa be cruel before. Small comments. Dismissive behavior. I told myself it wasn't my business, that it was just her personality. He pulled out his phone, placed it on the table. Last night I went through our photos, our texts. I saw patterns I'd ignored. The way she talks about service workers, about anyone she considers beneath her. He pushed the phone toward Maya. This is who I married, and I'm filing for annulment. The room went silent. Victor stared at his son. The attorneys exchanged glances. Maya picked up the phone. Screenshots of text messages filled the screen. Vanessa mocking servers, housekeepers, valet drivers. Jokes about the help. Comments about people who knew their place. You're willing to testify to this pattern? Maya asked. If needed. Marcus met her eyes. But I'm hoping you won't need me to. I'm hoping we can settle this differently. How? Vanessa needs consequences, not protection. She needs to understand what she did. He stood. So I'll support whatever action you take. Lawsuit, criminal charges, whatever. My family's money won't shield her this time. Victor stood too, furious. You're throwing away what, Dad? Throwing away what? Marcus's voice rose. A marriage to someone who thinks other people are objects? The Cross family reputation built on treating workers like disposable property? He turned to Maya. My grandfather started with one hotel. He worked the front desk himself. He knew every employee's name. When did we forget that? Maya stood slowly. She walked to the window, looking down at the ballroom. Sophia was setting up tables for a corporate lunch. Patricia was training a new server, showing her the correct way to hold a tray. Mr. Cross, Maya said finally. Both of you. Here's what's going to happen. She turned back to face them. No settlement. No deletion. The footage stays public as a teaching moment. Vanessa Cross is permanently banned from all Bennett Capital properties. We own 47 hotels across 12 states. Victor started to protest. Maya raised her hand. However, I'm not pressing charges. I'm not filing a civil suit. Because this isn't about revenge. She met Marcus's eyes. It's about change. Your family built something valuable. You can choose to rebuild it on better values, or watch it crumble on old ones. She picked up her bag. The annulment is your decision. The public knows what happened. How you both respond to that is your character test. She walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Mr. Cross. Victor, one more thing. Every hotel we acquire will implement new standards. Living wages, dignity clauses, protection policies. If you want to stay competitive, I suggest you do the same. She left them sitting in silence. 3 months later, Maya stood in the same Grandview ballroom. But tonight was different. Tonight was the Staff Appreciation Gala, the first annual event celebrating the workers who made the hotel run. Sophia wore a lavender dress, her daughter beside her. Patricia sat at a table of honor, with 23 years of service recognized. Roberto had been promoted to executive chef with a salary that reflected his worth. Maya wore her grandmother's diamond ring openly now. It caught the light as she raised her glass. To the people who clean rooms nobody sees, she said. To the people who serve meals and smile through rudeness. To the people who make empires run while remaining invisible. She paused. You're not invisible anymore. The room erupted in applause. Not the polite applause of Vanessa's wedding. Real applause. Loud and lasting. James approached with his tablet. Thought you'd want to see this. Cross Hotels announced new worker protections today. Living wage guarantee. Dignity training for management. He grinned. Looks like someone learned something. Maya smiled. Good, that's what this was about. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. This is Vanessa. I know you won't believe this, but I'm in therapy. Court mandated at first. Voluntary now. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. But I'm working on it, Maya showed James. He whistled low. You going to respond? Not yet. Maya pocketed the phone. Sorry is step one. Change behavior is the goal. Let's see if she gets there. She looked around the ballroom. The same chandeliers, the same marble floors, but everything felt different. Light fell on different faces now. Music celebrated different victories. Her mother appeared at her elbow, wearing a gold dress Maya had bought her. Baby, Grandma would be so proud. Maya thought about grandmother Evelyn, cleaning toilets and raising a daughter alone, teaching dignity through example, saving every penny for a granddaughter's future. I hope so, Mama. Maya touched her grandmother's ring. I really hope so. The band started playing. Staff and executives mixed on the dance floor. Patricia taught the new server a old dance step. Sophia's daughter laughed at something Roberto said. This was the empire Maya was building. Not built on silence and submission. Built on voices being heard. Outside the grand view, city lights reflected off windows like scattered diamonds. Maya stood on the balcony, champagne in hand, looking at the skyline her grandmother never got to see. She thought about power, real power, not Vanessa's performative cruelty. Real power was choosing restraint when rage was easier. Real power was using privilege to lift others rather than crush them. She thought about the moment in the service corridor when her hands shook, about the choice between fighting in the mud or rising above it, about her grandmother's voice teaching patience, while her grandmother's hands taught hard work. The door opened behind her. Patricia joined her on the balcony, holding her own champagne. They stood in comfortable silence. You changed things, Patricia said finally. It's not just here, everywhere. Hotels across the country are updating policies because of what you did. What we did, Maya corrected. You stayed for 23 years when you could have left. Sophia keeps smiling when guests are rude. Roberto creates beauty in a kitchen most people never see. She turned to Patricia. That's the real courage. Showing up every day. Patricia touched her glass to Maya's. But you showed them we matter. Maya thought about Vanessa's heel pressing down on her hand, about the choice to kneel and then the choice to rise, about the moment she decided patience had served its purpose. She thought about every black woman who ever swallowed rage to keep a job, every person who ever cleaned up someone else's intentional mess, every worker who ever been told they didn't belong in spaces they helped build. We've always mattered, Maya said quietly. I just made sure they couldn't pretend otherwise. Inside the ballroom, music rose and laughter echoed. Staff danced and celebrated and existed fully in the light. Maya raised her glass to the skyline, to her grandmother's memory, to every invisible person finally being seen. Here's to knowing your place, she whispered, and choosing to change what that place means. The diamond on her hand caught the light, scattering it into fragments of possibility. Some battles are fought with fists, some with lawyers, some with the quiet, devastating power of making cruelty visible. Maya Bennett had chosen visibility, and in doing so, she had changed what was possible.